Good evening.
We are here, folks.
2 weeks in a row.
We will be here discussing the sins of the fallen.
Oh,
It should be interesting.
all I can say is that I want to go to the World War II Memorial in New Orleans, but I'm packing a lunch because I don't want to spend any money except at the memorial. And
Well-
we'll bring that to light as to why.
There's quite a
in
few
little bit.
people, including me, who were talking on Facebook online about boycott New Orleans because of the foolishness of Landrew. Boycott it.
But you know what? Well, we're not going to go there right now. You have tomorrow night?
Same bat time, same bat channel. My meeting starts at 6:30. We'll be talking about the foolishness that is going on and some of the new
Be there.
some of the new training tactics that a lot of the trainers are doing right now.
Yeah, I have my Knights of Columbus meeting tomorrow night. Anyways, a lot of stuff going on. Had some good experiences this week, so let's say a prayer. Lord, I'm not sure we're going to survive all this. We just have to keep looking to you for our strength and pray to you that these people start to see it. But I know the other side of the bridge, those people are never going to change. This poor president has been beat up more than any other president in the history of the United States. And I certainly hope that you are energizing him with your powers. I pray for this country. I pray for all Christians around the world, especially those that are being persecuted in foreign countries. In your name we pray. Amen. It's been an interesting week.
Oh,
We have the Taliban that strike in New Orleans after hours.
yeah, they're like street thieves. They hit in the middle of the night and rob you. We've been robbed of our Confederate heritage.
You know, and I got a letter here, and I'll probably read it in a little bit, an email today. I put out, it's from a friend, and I want to read it. I'll read it in a little while. What I want to do, I found an article. I've been trying to figure out, outside of the obvious, why this started. And I kept seeing this one individual, this one black guy that kept talking on TV, but they never showed his name.
Now you know who he is.
Now I know. And civil rights, it says here, Louisiana Spotlight, a look back at what led to the effort to remove the Confederate monuments.
Okay.
Civil rights leaders and others in New Orleans have been pushing for the removal of the Liberty Place monument for at least 3 decades without success. Statues of Confederate icons Robert E. Lee, Jefferson Davis, and P.G.T. Beauregard had been defaced with graffiti from time to time, but there was no sign of a realistic attempt to remove them from their prominent spots on the New Orleans landscape. Then came Dylan Roof. Remember that name, Dylan Roof. The race war he reportedly sought when he gunned down 9 parishioners. He's not the guy in New Orleans, by the way.
Yeah, he's the church shooter.
Church shooter. He gunned down 9 parishioners at South Carolina Church in 2015. Hasn't materialized, but he did ignite something. Now this is kind of like, really, I'm telling you, when I get finished reading this, it's the usual bozo story. The Liberty Monument is gone. Jefferson Davis was hoisted from its pedestal last week with Lee and Beauregard slated to follow. It's not just in New Orleans. In Cato Parish, an advisory committee is holding hearings on the future of Confederate Memorial at the parish courthouse. On the Gulf Coast of neighboring Mississippi, Biloxi, Mayor Andrew Fofo Gillich ordered the state flag, which includes the Confederate battle emblem removed from display at city buildings in late April, saying he wants tourists to feel welcome. In Ruth's home state, the battle flag no longer flies at the Capitol. A friend of mine told me he has 5 Confederate flags for me. I said, do you have a 50 caliber machine gun I can put in my car? But the push by Mayor, well, I can't say that, Landrieu, to rid the landscape of 4 monuments may be the most ambitious efforts to reassert the idea that while remembering the Confederate heritage is important, honoring it is inappropriate. Landrieu made his proposal soon after Ruth's massacre in Charleston. Why did that have anything? Never mind. That's how these idiots
It focused the little communists.
If the pain of the killings had faded since then, the battle over the monuments in New Orleans remained intense. During the 2015 governor's race, Republican candidates blasted Landrieu's move. Democrat John Bell Obama, who eventually won, said it would be left up to the city. Oh, it's John Bell Edwards.
That's John Bell Obama. He's a ring kisser.
The city council sided with Landrieu on a 6-1 vote in December 2015 after hours of emotional back and forth monument supporters and opponents. State and federal courts battles delayed the removal for more than 16 months. Protests and counter-protests were tense at the monument sites. There have been loud arguments, scuffles, and arrests, but no war. Not yet. Away from the demonstration sites, opinions have varied and nuanced. And as they span racial divides, with some black city residents sympathetic to the idea of keeping the statues at historic landmarks, and some whites, most prominently Landrieu, saying it's time to take them down.
Well, there's an error there because Landrieu's not white. He thinks he is.
Well, yeah.
He's a poser.
If public opinion is turning towards Landrieu's way of thinking, it may be an effect of the passage of time. Or it could be that much as an act of terrorism at a Birmingham church pushed the nation closer toward passage of the Civil Rights Act. A massacre at South Carolina church may have tipped the argument in New Orleans, leading to removal of statues that once seemed as much a part of the landscape of the sprawling oaks. I will tell you, I have seen 3 of those statues. And impressive. But I never, when I saw the statues, never once thought about any of this crap. That's not to say that the entomies are over. Court fights linger, so do the arguments. Decisions are pending on where and how to return statues to public view in what a monument opponents would call an appropriate context.
Somebody have a glitter ball we can put up? That was disco music.
That has gone on in an inordinate way. State District Judge Kernry said last week as he dealt the monument supporters another defeat, refusing to block the apparently imminent removal of the Beauregard statue. It may have been the understatement of the year, and given that the legal battles had delayed the removal for nearly 17 months. Given that the battles are still being fought more than 150 years after the Civil War ended, and that the first of the monuments, the likeness of Lee, went up in 1884. It may have been the understatement of the last century and a half. Here's the deal. Those statues, from my understanding, were built with donations. I've seen it written, but I don't have anything to totally verify that. Here was an opinion in the Advocate. With statues going, city will be perfect.
Not with that crime rate.
Congratulations. Huh?
Not with that crime rate.
Congratulations to the New Orleans Mayor, Mitch Landrieu. He is almost there. Horrible old Jefferson Davis is going now. PGT Beauregard and Robert E. Lee stand in the way of a perfect New Orleans. There will be This is going to blow you away, okay? There will be no more crime, no more anger, no more bigotry, no more racism, no more overcrowded prisons, no more illiteracy, and no more murders.
Jim, I think somebody forgot to tell the Democrats that.
Ding dong, ding dong.
By the way, Jim, who is the person that you said when you started reading that one that's behind all
the
this?
the point being is that they blamed it all on Dylan Roof. That was what spurred the whole thing. I should have clarified that.
Then this is what we need to have happen. This is in fairness and in keeping with their line of thought. If they're offended by that, then every time one of these rabid dog yo-yo Muslims runs around, has a mass shooting and does Allahu Akbar, we need to trace back where their mosque is and bring a D5 cat and bulldoze it.
Yep.
Every time we have a mass shooting, a mosque gets bulldozed that supplied them and that they attended. So in keeping with this, if the little snowflakes get offended by this, every time we have a mass shooting, then a mosque comes down. Every time.
I did something really bad.
Buddy? Go ahead, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Yes. I have two letters I'd like to read. They're very brief, if I would.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. The first letter is to whom this may concern. It has to do with the monuments to destroy our southern heritage. And it says, there has been and remains a despicable movement among the corrupt, demonic individuals who promote revisionist history in order to slander, distort, and destroy any semblance of southern history. These liars, cowards, would-be scalawags, carpetbaggers, and other undesirables permeated the political arena with the specific intent to destroy all that is true historically and socially. Those who are mere spectators and those who practice the sin of silence become complicit and therefore share in the same shameful criminal activity. Anyone who desecrates monuments, graves, or resting places of our honored heroes are the lowest forms of protoplasm and should be charged and punished accordingly. And then I go on with a follow-up letter to the editor of Sunday Advertiser. And it says, this is reference James Carville's hopes to preserve Sherman's legacy at LSU. And it says, your Sunday Advertiser's article by Carrie Grace Henderson of The Advocate addresses James Carville's hopes to preserve William Tecumseh Sherman's legacy at LSU. And I said the article truthfully acknowledges that Sherman's name is despised and unworthy of any memorial in his honor as far as my family and thousands of relatives and fellow Americans are concerned. Sherman's scorched earth policy was inhumane and contrary to moral principles in time of warfare. My great-grandmother, a widow at the time of the war between the states, experienced looting, burning, killing, livestock, etc. by Sherman's scorched earth policy. All of her sons joined the Confederacy to defend what remains, while the little girl and only daughter remained. On the other hand, General Robert E. Lee gave strict orders against such barbaric practices to troops under his command. All sons returned from the war, along with my grandfather, who graduated as a dentist and died and is buried in Generate, Louisiana. And later on, I have a call in. I'm asking for. I have it here. A class action suit against those people, Landrew included, and all of his entourage, who want to desecrate these and remove these statues. And so I think that a class action suit would be appropriate. If
Sure.
you could get anybody to with enough.
Oh, I think I could help you out in New Orleans.
Yeah, they're pretty angry.
Yes, they are. And a relative of mine in New Orleans, I spoke with her last couple of days, and she said people are really in an uproar about this, and I hope that something will be done. Well, thank you for letting me add.
No problem. We always appreciate that.
Charles,
so
come
much.
to my meeting tomorrow night, and you can make the same talk at the meeting if you wish.
Right, I'll do that. Thank you so much for everything.
You're
All
welcome.
right, Charles.
All right, bye.
Bye. Now I want to tell you, here's another opinion letter I took out of the Advocate. Taking down statues won't help New Orleans. The opposite.
Correct.
It says, as one who was born and raised in New York City, that's a Yankee. I have no emotional attachment to our Confederate monuments or any other trappings of the old Confederacy. I do, however, have a deep love for my adopted city, New Orleans, and for the people of all races and attitudes who make it a wonderful place to live. For that reason, I am dismayed by the great brouhaha that has been generated by Mayor Landrieu over an issue that no one thought important until he told us it was almost 2 years ago. Now we have people of good faith on both sides who are angry and ready to go to war over the statues that no one gave a thought to a short time ago. Many of our citizens are now angry and have drawn battle lines over the monuments that in the greater scheme of things are of no importance. Once the statues are relocated, no one will go to visit them, nor will the life of anyone improve. Not one teenage girl will not get pregnant out of wedlock. No streets will be fixed. No kid will decide not to drop out of school. The out-of-control violence will not abate, and companies will not decide to hire out-of-work citizens once the monuments are gone from public view. The only result will be the lasting anger that has been thrust upon by a feckless mayor who has demonstrated great hubris, whatever that means.
Arrogance.
Of course, the city council followed right along with him. No surprise, since they prove over and over to be lacking in good sense and leadership. We can only hope that the next election rescues us from this ship of fools. Story.
Well, and the other problem that we have too, we have a person who was once one of the champions of the Republican Party, Jeff Landry, who himself has turned out to be a feckless, race-baiting traitor by calling for investigation in the officers who righteously shot down Alton Sterling, and in not standing up on this issue. He has been characteristically quiet, which means he is a race-baiting, pandering idiot.
We, and I know because I've had some conversations with Billy Nungesser, several phone numbers. I have his phone number, and Billy does get back to me. And Billy told me he went to Landry to file a lawsuit. Now, he's our tourist guy. You know, he's the lieutenant governor, and that's basically what his job is for tourism. What do you think's going to happen in New Orleans? I see pictures on Facebook.
National boycott.
You know, I see pictures on Facebook. Now, you can live in the New Orleans area, but you don't have to go to New Orleans.
Correct.
Now, I do have times when I have to go into
But that's for
Orleans
business.
Parish to work,
That's business.
but I just can't eat there.
And folks, we're calling for a boycott of New Orleans. We need to
Absolutely.
economically break that place so that Mr. Landrieu feels the heat from everybody included. But it was extremely demoralizing to me. I thought a little better of Jeff Landry and some of the other issues that he has tackled. But it seems that he wants to play the racial card and pander to special interests for his future political career. Well, Mr. Landry, I got news for you. In not standing up for these monuments and in asking for a continued investigation into the Alton Sterling police officers, you have now put yourself on a collision course in the next election with a loss. because the people are not going to forget this. We deplorables, we remember this stuff. We remembered it when
Don't
Trump
forget.
when Trump ran. You notice we got Trump elected in spite of the fact it was a fixed election. Trump still run, and he won. So, Mr. Landry, you need to really, really seriously consider what your next move is, because not defending these monuments, you may have pandered to a very small percentage of minorities, but you forgot who actually are the majority and who we deplorables actually are. And I can assure you, between us deplorables and the Confederate Navy, it's not going to be good for you. Not going to be good for you at all.
Now, last night, they took down Beauregard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while they were busy taking Beauregard down, this is in Orleans Parish now, 5 shot, 2 killed in 9 hours overnight in New Orleans.
So the officers and the SWAT teams that were tied up having to guard these people taking down these statues could have been elsewhere trying to keep the real crime in check.
The first shooting came around 5 p.m. Just moments later, a man was shot about 3 miles away in the 1800 block of Forstall Street. His condition was not known at 6 a.m. There is no indication that 2 shootings were related. Around 9 p.m. on St. Claude and Alvar, a man suffered a gunshot wound to his leg in an incident near the intersection. Just before 11 p.m., a man was shot in the 2200 block of North Galvez. He was taken to the hospital. Around 1:30 a.m., a man was shot and killed in the 1200 block of Parisha, near Marais, M-A-R-A-I-S.
Mm-hmm.
Police said when they arrived, they found a man lying unresponsive in the doorway of a home. The man was pronounced dead at the scene, according to the New Orleans police.
They're trying to overtake Chicago.
I like the picture they have on Facebook. It says, "Murders up," and at the bottom it says, "Monuments down."
Fitting. And by the way, that wonderful little mayor down there, Itch Landrew, has to go into hiding and cannot live in his house because there are people looking for him. Well, maybe he should have thought this through, that if people are willing to carry out death threats against him, maybe he shouldn't have done this. Maybe that's a hint.
Care. I put on the one thing that I've lived by for all these last 5 or 6 years of doing and being involved: follow the money. There is no way he's doing this without getting some money.
He obviously cares a little bit, because he's in hiding and his wife's in hiding and got SWAT teams watching his house to make sure nobody burns it down.
I heard today who else is in hiding?
Who?
The deputy mayor, or whatever they call him. He was out on the street and some people shouted some things and they hustled him off.
You know,
You know,
folks, back in the day, they used to tar and feather politicians. So now we've got these little portable roofing tar units that you can pull behind a truck. Folks, I think we need to assemble the Cajun Navy with a portable roofing tar unit and a bed full of feathers in the back of a pickup truck that's covered with a tarp. And anytime one of these politicians is sighted, they should be tagged, bagged, tarred, feathered publicly. I imagine scraping off hot roofing tar should be a chore.
Last night they took down Beauregard. Now, I want to tell you, those of you that this is what they had to do to take Beauregard down. The oak trees are something of a historical preservation thing, and the oak trees that go into the city park have been there for a long time. Well, the cranes couldn't get in with the trees there. So I saw pictures on Facebook. Some of my friends, I know a couple of the people that take these pictures, and showing them of city trucks cutting the oak trees so the cranes will be able to get through.
So basically, this is what we've got. We have multiple overtime bills for police SWAT teams and snipers to be guarding all of this stuff. We have city funds being used to cut down parts of 100-year-old oak trees to remove these statues, and that's not private money, that's city money.
Well, I saw a number today, and I don't know how they arrived at it, and I didn't have a chance, but they said that when this is all said and done, it'd be right around $600,000. Now, where's that money coming from?
To destroy our heritage.
And now here's New Orleans people. I gotta give them a lot of credit.
They're mad.
They're mad, and they good. I have a thing from the hayride here. We found the Beauregard statue. And we have pictures. You know where, they said they were gonna go to a secure warehouse. This is not a secure warehouse.
And again, Itch Landrew lies.
It is the New Orleans Police Department compound. And, I mean,
That is constantly vandalized and things are stolen from regularly. It is
two
not
of the
secure.
statues are at this compound.
It is not secure in any way, shape, or form.
Not secured. You know, actually, they're playing with fire there, because if you have some productive people down there, them statues might disappear.
That would really be interesting
That would be interesting.
if the Cajun Navy or some other motivated folks would show up and.
But here, I don't know how they got this picture. This picture, you can't see it, but
Oh yeah.
there's two statues.
Hold it still, Jim.
There's two statues in there. One is Beauregard, and the other one is the base of, was it the second one they took down? I forget.
Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis. Now, and these people found this. This was in the, now, this is the sad picture here. That is the base of the monument of Beauregard. On the front of that was a beautiful plaque describing what Beauregard did. And I'm learning a lot of stuff about the different people in these statues. They aren't all the bad guys that they're saying, especially Beauregard.
The history was written by the victors in the War of Northern Aggression, not the truth.
I know right where the dang statues are at. I don't have any jobs in New Orleans for a while.
Go recon.
Be like when I took my little trip up in Leesville, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Don't drive along the fence at Fort Polk. You will draw attention. Oh well.
But the irony of that picture was two guys who spray painted that was the PGT Beauregard statue base got arrested for allegedly defacing it, whereas the moron stormtroopers under Landrew destroyed it and did not get arrested.
Go ahead, Charles.
Yes, I apologize for calling again. But
Oh,
there's-
no.
Oh no, you
Oh,
call it
no.
down you want, Charles. We good?
There's something I missed,
Okay.
and that is the bust of Martin Luther King. We should send a copy of the 96th Congressional Record Second Session to Mitch Landrew and all of his entourage over there, which depicts the statement by Julia Brown, an undercover operative for the FBI that investigated King's activities for 8 years and said
Correct.
he was the worst enemy a people ever had. And it gives photographs in the 96th Congressional Record of King's association with Hunter Fitz-Odell, Bayard Rustin, all identified communists. And if anybody's bust or statue or anything should be taken down, that ought to be Martin Luther King, but nothing is mentioned about that. And I'd just like to say that
I did shoot an email already.
he should go.
Well, Charles, my comment also was the fact that every time we have a Muslim mass shooter, We need to find out what mosque he came from and pull a bulldozer up and bulldoze that mosque right in front of those Muslims every time a mass shooting happens.
That's a good idea. But anyway, I'll anything I can do in that regard, I'll
And
do.
the other thing we need to do is after we bulldoze the mosque and we clear away the rubble, we need to put up a hog farm.
Right. Well, look. Anyway, thanks for what you're doing, and,
All right.
and appreciate that.
Thank
I'll
you,
see
Charles.
Tomorrow night.
All right,
Bye.
thank you. If you could see the picture here and see the end, here's the front of the statue.
They destroyed it.
They destroyed that. I wish I had a picture that we could pull up and show you what this monument looked like.
But that's the irony that I'm talking about. They arrested two guys for
Yeah,
spray
they
painting.
arrested those two
For
guys.
spray painting on the destroyed statue base what was originally there, yet the people who destroyed it truly got away with it under the color of law and the instructions of Der Fuhrer Ich Landru. I'm going to call him
Both Kimballs were arrested and booked for criminal damage to historic buildings.
I'm going to keep calling him Ich Landru because he reminds me of a boil that sits under the bottom of your wallet, sitting on your behind that itches all the time and continually causes you pain. Ich Landru, the boil of Louisiana, a pus-wad-filled scallywag.
Now, this is how bad things have gotten. I was at the Capitol on Tuesday, which I'll talk about that visit a little later. But Lanny Keller, the power of race to disrupt progress. The legislature is partying like it's 1861 with pro-slavery apologists that made no sense then and less now, and a pointless new debate over Confederate monuments. And I will give you, before I read all of this article, my take on this is I don't disagree with the fact that this is one of the more insignificant things at this point in time, because we have all kinds of budget problems and other issues that need to be at the top.
We have a lot of fish that need frying.
Yeah, and a pointless new debate over Confederate monuments. And some people are going to yell at me, but what I'm saying is, after sitting in the Ways and Means Committee, it wasn't only the gas tax bill that I sat there and listened to. I have this file on my favorite thing, the HB2 budget. So what I'm saying is, but what happened was not what I think should have happened. I'm supposed to tell you, Connie said, please tell Brett not to sugarcoat his feelings about itch.
I will not sugarcoat my feelings of the piece of excrement that is currently floating in the position of mayor of New Orleans. That was freshly dropped
Okay.
out of the rear of a northbound horse.
So even for those of us who want generally and the others to stay where they are, it seems divisive and an unnecessary bill of majority white legislators intruding on local decisions because of majority black cities questioning the old monuments. Is this legislature's business? Hardly. And the bill mandating that public focus on war memorials, including those of the war between the states. And on and on. What happened was this bill passed 65 to 31. And unfortunately, the Black Caucus got up and walked out of the floor.
And I understand the leader of that movement was brain surgeon, NASA rocket scientist Terry Landry.
Don't know if he was the leader, but
According to some articles that I saw on Facebook and a few other things, he was the one who came out as the spokesman for the Black Caucus and commented publicly.
I'm sure. And you see, here's another one of those things. Terry Landry and I used to speak with each other and say hi and,
But Jim,
talk about stuff.
He's a blacktivist now. He don't want to talk to you.
But now he don't even give me
Well,
a hi.
he's a blacktivist. He's come out,
And I don't know.
Brother Obama brought him out of his shell.
Well, the whole thing is that I have been, and still am, reporting on the state police.
I don't think it's not that all, but just that. We've reported the issues on several other things that have come up, and Brother Landry probably just does not see eye to eye with
Well,
the truth.
the Black Caucus members walked out of the House chamber in protest. That was wrong. And some of the stuff that I learned that went on, actually I was told by one individual, thank God you weren't there, Jim. And he showed me the list of things that they called the people in that room, white supremacists, racists, so on and so forth. They held a press conference yesterday. Actually, I watched all of the black people that were on the Ways and Means Committee leave for a while, and they went to this press conference and denounced the bill. You know, I first of all, if somebody questioned me, if one of them questioned me about it, I would say you did not read the bill. It says all monuments and whatever. And that's the part that they missed. You know, I got a letter today, and, there was a lot of talk about that. You could see, you could feel, when I went up after the thing, I went up and checked in on both sessions were going on in the House and the Senate. And I walked in, you could feel the tension. I have never felt like that at the Capitol.
And Jim, it's just warming up.
Go ahead, Herder.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Hey.
why, whenever they got something that gets in their craw, the only thing that they can come up with is racism? I'm one that I've always treated anyone and everyone the way I want to be treated myself. Now, they want to come up with this BS that everything is racist just because I'm Caucasian and they're Negro.
Good
I'm
point.
getting fed up with the whole damn thing. I feel kind of...
I'm going to answer your question, John. The answer to that is the last 8 years.
Yep.
The answer to that is the last 8 years. That is one of the things that he created.
Yeah, but you see, these are supposed to be our... They're supposed to be our representatives in all this. They have no idea what in the hell is going on. They've been drinking the Mississippi swamp water and the Potomac River Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
It's Kool-Aid, all right.
The thing is that it's hard to put a finger on it. But this whole thing was created with what has gone on the last 8 years. And if you look at what is really going on in Washington, D.C., Trump is one of the most beat-up presidents for only being in office for 3 months.
It is by design, Jim.
And the irony.
Oh, yeah.
The irony,
no doubt.
The irony of it is,
If I was Trump, I would have every bathroom, every wall, every carpet, everything checked for bugs.
and the irony of it
And I ain't
is,
talking about termites.
he has done exactly what he has said he's going to do, following the law, and yet they're after him like he did something illegal. Wait, that was Obama that did all this illegal stuff.
You know, just the ones that they ought to investigate Trump for the Russian connection. They need to go back and check on Hillary. She doesn't give the Russians 20% of our uranium for them to send it back to us whenever they get the itch.
That's the reason why all of this is happening, because they keep everything focused on Trump and they don't go back and look at all the stuff that everybody else is doing.
What they need to do is like you say, tar and feather them and ride them out of town on a rail.
Let me tell you what's going to happen, though. They just put former FBI Director Robert Mueller as a special prosecutor. Here goes what Chucky Schumer does not understand. That special prosecutor, while he's empowered, he can investigate anything he wants.
Anything and everything.
There is nothing to investigate with Trump and Russia. There is nothing there.
There's nothing.
But there's a lot there, like you just said,
Even
between John
Feinstein.
Podesta and Russia, and his brother and Russia, and Hillary and Russia. There's a whole lot.
Mr. President Obama said, wait till after the elections, I'll have more power.
And that special prosecutor can look into the unmasking of people by Susan Rice. And by the way, the former FBI director was the one in charge of the wiretaps and the unmasking. And this fella coming in can look at that too if he wants, because they can't stop him. Once he gets loose, he's loose.
See, the thing is with Jeff Sessions, they put a bill in today to stop him from trying to use more powerful sentencing. Now,
Yeah, and Rand Paul is against the more powerful, the more strict sentencing.
I don't. But here's the deal.
I commented on that on Facebook.
Let's think about why they're doing that. Okay, they know Sessions is going to come after him. Chucky Schumer, Hillary, Bill Clinton, the other DOJ. I can't even think of her name now.
Lynch, Susan Rice.
Lynch. They're going to go down the line. And if you think that isn't going to happen, if it doesn't, I will be disappointed. And
Well, you see, they let them out. If they keep them in prison, they don't let them out. They don't even get to do their time. They let them out early.
Yeah, but you don't understand. Treason is also possibly a death sentence.
But I got some rope. I'm gonna get back to cleaning my 40.
There you go.
I'm gonna listen to the show.
There you go.
all right, buddy. Thanks for calling. You know, and I get all kinds of stuff. The history that I've learned. One of the misnomers of this whole deal with the Confederacy is slavery. I'm gonna read part of this letter that I got today. Regarding the democratic view of why Civil War was fought, much is misunderstood. And if I were to talk about all the needed corrections, my voice would get louder with time. Consequently, I'm sending you an email. First of all, the war was not fought to end slavery in the United States of America. Amen. It was fought because the Union wanted to be able to continue collecting the newly and greatly increased 50 to 100%, not sure of the exact amount, import duties at the commerce houses of southern ports, such as New Orleans and Savannah. So they defied the South's decision to secede from the Union, saying falsely so that such an act was unconstitutional. Gee, where have we heard that? Interestingly enough, and ironically, secession from the Union is the buzz of the Democrat California today. Furthermore, laws ending slavery in only the states not under the control of the Union Army, i.e. in only the southern states still resisting northern aggression, was passed by Congress and signed by President Lincoln during the third year of the war. But laws ending slavery did not result in northern states until after the war ended.
Funny, huh?
So how, for God's sake, can one say, take down those Civil War monuments of Southern military leadership who fought against ending slavery? And here is the gigantic exclamation point on the whole Civil War travel. After the war ended, to punish the states that seceded and resisted, the Union passed severe unconstitutional Reconstruction laws against the seceded southern states who resisted by first using its congressional power in Article 3, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution to pass a law denying the Supreme Court any jurisdiction to hear cases regarding their passage of Reconstruction law. Very well done.
And 2 points along that same thing. The actual mechanism that caused the damage to the South were the Tariff Acts of 1828 and 1832, which in effect allowed the northern states to tax the then $2 million cotton crop that was being exported. $2 million in 1828. Imagine how much that is today. The second point about this is the black community and the rest of the country have a very poor memory and a very poor grasp of anything that happened, because it was the Democrats who owned the slaves and were in charge of slavery. Now, I don't know how and I don't know why things turned around to where all of a sudden the Democrats get the block vote of the black community and all of this, but it's just, this is the same stupidity that Louis Farrakhan, being a black Muslim of the Muslim nation of Islam, celebrating Islam, when right now, today, this very minute, the slave trade in Africa of black slaves is alive and well, and the Muslims started the slave trade and have run the slave trade in Africa and the Middle East for 1,400 years, and yet Louis Farrakhan is stupid enough to go and identify with the very people who captured his people and shipped them and still own them. To me, that is the epitome of stupidity. That's like feeding the dog that bites you.
We were talking today, when I was trying to think of the meeting in June, and you must have read my mind. I did this once before, educated the people on Marxism, the rules for radicals, and the 8 steps to create a socialistic state.
And these actions against these statues are part of that.
And so Brett says to me, my idea to redo that was not just to it, but he, in our phone conversation, he said, well, Jim, this is what you need to do. You need to relate it to what's going on today. And I'm going, damn, 'cause you're reading my freaking mind.
Because there's plenty of evidence.
But that's what in talking to people, they don't understand. They know about Marxism. They talk about it. I'll tell you, there's some really sharp people in that New Orleans group that understand that what's going on in New Orleans is all about Marxism.
But the part they don't grasp is that this is not all random accidental. This whole Marxist thing is the result of years of planning, money, effort, organizing, and motivation of people who were as insidious as Formosan termites. They get into the structure of your capitalism, and they dig at the foundation, and they dig at the foundation, and they cause trouble until they bring it down. And that's the problem that we have, is that the Republicans are so worried about infighting and their own little petty power squabbles, they don't see what the danger is from these communist Democrats who are unified, they don't infight, and they mobilize as a single unit. Our biggest problem as conservatives is Republicans. Republicans are so busy attacking other Republicans for stupid reasons. It's pathetic.
Now you have some that are doing pretty good right now, but the whole thing, not too many. But the whole thing is that the Democrats had all these plans when Hillary gets in office. I would guarantee you that if Hillary would have gotten in office,
oh my God,
before the end of this year,
gun rights gone.
Martial law. And when I took the trip to Arizona and drove out there and went around and did some tourism stuff in those, and I'm thinking to myself, how in the world could you take over a country like the U.S. with all of this?
Well,
it's
big.
You drive out there, it's 1,300 or 1,400 miles to Phoenix.
Just remember, in about 1918, a bunch of people took over the country of Russia. The communists took over, killed the royal family, and communists took over, and they're 4 or 5 times bigger than us. So here we are.
I mean, you think about that, but I think that's what I'm going to try and do in the June meeting I'm going to try and get on the TV or radio and talk about it, because I think now people need to understand that this is what's going on. This didn't start 8 years ago. This started, I would say, really got underway in the 60s.
Yep.
In the 60s, when I had hair down to the middle
And
of my
even
back.
even then, it was still not properly identified
Right.
as communism, because what happened after Joe McCarthy in the 50s was demonized for his communist hunts. He was rode out of D.C. as a drunk and a laughingstock, and he was not. He was perfectly accurate and just scratched the surface. But they were able to get, the communists were able to get the word communist taken out of everybody's vocabulary, and nobody wanted to talk about it. Whereas words have power. These are not socialists. These are communists. And there's a difference, because communists like to use violence. Socialism is communism without the gun to your head. Communism, they got a gun to your head. And right now, they got guns to our heads, because those little Antifa fools are running around. They caught a safe house with 20 weapons down in New Orleans, and then they still commit their violent acts. They're escalating their training, and they're getting more motivated. Folks, again, I will postulate to you, the first shots of Civil War II have been fired. We have not returned fire yet. We are one magazine dump away from open conflict. One magazine dump.
I think that the New Orleans Police Department realized last night could have really exploded. They went in there. What I like the people did, they showed the video when the cops came in there. They formed a line, a marching line, and they marched out like this with an American flag.
Well, I just
I
hope the NOPD officers can perfect their accent, so when the reckoning comes, off, mein Führer, we were just taking orders, ja. Let's see how far that gets you.
yep.
Okay?
I mean, we're not gonna we're gonna talk about the gas tax, I'm sure. Guess what? I have some more things on the state police.
They just can't stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I ran across this article, and I showed Brett before the show. It goes all the way back to 2014.
Well, what's happening is there are legislative auditors who are now on the state police's case who are looking. And it looks like they were busy years ago spending money like they were
You know
rich.
who was in charge, huh? Our boy, Edmondson.
Well, of course.
I mean, last week I didn't have anything, but all of a sudden, we have the gas tax. I was at that committee meeting yesterday. Very educational.
Folks.
Good. Rhinos.
Folks, remember 4 names: Julie Stokes, Paula Davis, Clay Schick Snyder, and Barry Ivy. These people will rue the day that they voted for the gas tax. When their elections come up, I promise you, I will paste Facebook and this TV show with their names and remind everyone they voted for the gas tax.
The committee, to get it out of committee.
Well, that's voting for the gas tax,
Now,
and it should never have left committee.
Here's the saving face on this gas tax that we have to pray for. On the House floor, they will need 70 votes to pass it.
Hopefully they don't get
My
them.
understanding is, through my sources, is that they already have 53 no's,
Good,
so they can't get to 70.
good.
Because there's only 100 and, what is it, 103? And
Well, folks, anybody who votes to,
106.
anybody who votes
39 senators.
to promote this gas tax, we will actively campaign against them, and they will get the Bustani treatment.
Well, I got a lot of insight on it. When I went there, my whole thing that I wrote up to speak about, they covered almost all of it in amendments. I'm serious. Part of it said 50% was gonna go, but only 50%. Here we go again.
And by the way, Be careful of the language. They were trying to say that none of this was going to go to state police. I saw in the language they were putting that part of this would go for traffic safety. And traffic safety is the buzzword
No,
for
that's
state
out.
police.
That's out. That's completely gone. I can tell you that. I was there. That question came up. And the thing is they're not even in the budget. Well, I go and I find out that that happens every year. They take them out of the budget.
Well, yeah.
And they get back in.
Right.
So it's like, okay, we're gonna sit. The big talk was accountability. So we'll see.
Yeah, right. They've never been accountable before.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like Moon says, we can't expect them to do anything different than they did before because they've done it forever. Same thing. They'll find a way to get the money to state police watch.
Well, we'll go into that in a little more in depth. What we got left there, Hartwell? We're crossed. 30 seconds. Stuff on the tax, I'm sure you got some.
Oh, I
Interesting
got
stuff.
interesting stuff on Seth Rich, on
That, we'll talk about that first in the next hour. Seth Rich, if y'all don't know who that is, he helped WikiLeaks and then got to meet the maker.
yeah, he outed the Hildebeest.